more minutes, so we have time for questions from the listeners. Do we have any questions? I don't know how to hear them.
I've not seen any pop up. I don't know if any popped up while we were.
No.
No, we don't have any questions for now, it says.
No. It was a very clear presentation. Have you? Yeah, very good. Have you got something more to share? That problems you have reaching people? How do you tackle it? How do you? We started trying to get in
the problems, as always, Lena, are you can reach people and they will listen. But that doesn't mean that they will change what they're doing.
No. So how do you check that?
So, well, it's always difficult to do. I mean, we all we can do is keep communicating, keep pushing the point that you don't just need to acknowledge that you're causing harm, but you actually need to improve. You need to implement these controls on your website. BOHS cannot do this on their own. You know, we are a small society, and the construction industry are, you know, an enormous beast. You know, a massive industry. One thing that's on our side is regulation. There's been a much sharper focus in the UK in the last 5 or 6 years on health when it comes to our inspections and our workplace inspection, our workplace enforcement. Okay, we didn't always do health particularly historically well as HSE and as inspectors. There's been a much bigger focus on health in the last 5 years, and we've had several campaigns aimed directly at dust control in construction. And obviously they have a huge impact, not just on the sites that are visited, but on the whole industry, because, you know, if there's a chance you're going to be visited by an inspector and there's a chance that you're going to end up having some enforcement taken against you, then it focuses people to improve. Standards have definitely improved. There's no doubt about that. We can't measure it in any clear way. We don't have a clear way of saying that the industry is this much better than it was 5 years ago. And as I'm sure you'll recognise, when it comes to long latency disease, it's very hard to know. You know, silicosis and things have got a 15, 20, 25, 30 year latency period.
Yeah, so we will see in 20 years then.
We will, and what we need to do is get some better ways of measuring now, and clearly the best leading indicator is exposure. If we can see silica exposures coming down, then we have to infer from that in 30 years there will be less silicosis. That's straightforward toxicology. So we need to get more exposure data. That's one of the things that we would like to get more of. We don't have a particularly good handle in the UK as to what silica exposures are doing in construction. We assume they're coming down, and we know that there's quite a lot of data out there, but what we're trying to do is to pull all that data together. We've not done it particularly well so far, but if we can get that data, pull it together, I'm sure it will show us a downward trend.
Yeah. We are doing a lot of silica measurements in Sweden, so in the construction industry, so wow. I'll keep in touch.
Please do, because I mean, obviously all data is relevant. You know, I mean, we don't necessarily have to use British data, because if you're doing the same things in Sweden, using the same materials, building in the same way, same controls, then the exposures are going to be the same.
Yeah.
So that would be a very useful conversation to have, Lena.
Yeah, we'll do that.
One of the things we don't have is a great picture on silica exposures in construction.
No. So I think we stop there, and we'll have some more time after Jayadran's presentation. So we say thank you to Chris.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, and now it's time for the next presentation. And I would like to welcome Jayandran Mohan. Jayandran is an HSE trainer in the Sultanate of Oman. And Jayandran are going to talk about COVID-19 pandemic behavior, based safety analysis. So welcome, Jayandran.
Yeah, good afternoon, Ms. Lena. Good afternoon to everybody. Good afternoon. Okay. Uh, Basically, I'm a safety trainer working as a safety trainer in Oman. Uh, we have the chance to interact with worker groups basically. As Ms. Chris has said just before, we have many opportunities to meet with construction workers and drivers and different work groups. As we all aware, the world is infected with this COVID pandemic in this 2020, and from there on, I got an opportunity to work with this respiratory syndrome oriented disease. So I did this World Health Organization Emergency Respiratory Disease Infection and Control course, and then I did some CPD regarding with psychological related aspects with the pandemic phobia and emergency management and all those things. So after completing all these courses, slowly I started to implement the COVID-19 controls in my office, as well as I have a good opportunity to interact with so many publics, how they aware about this respiratory oriented disease and what is their opinion and what is their view about this COVID-19. And WHO and other international organizations like CDC and HSC.gov.uk say they started to release so much of pandemic controls. So now I got a good opportunity in one way. One side, I am learning through WHO courses. I am gaining idea about respiratory oriented diseases. Other way, I have an opportunity to implement that controls, all the COVID controls in my workspace. Another way, I also have the opportunity to interact with so many work groups, especially in Oman. Construction industry is very, very predominant. After construction industry, the EPC sector and then oil and gas sector is predominant, and then drivers, so truck drivers, and then normal other work groups. So Oman is a place for all type of industry sectors. So I'm gaining knowledge from WHO. I'm implementing COVID controls in my office. Have an opportunity to observe how these work groups are implementing these controls. Finally, whatever may be the controls we are implementing, being a protection agency as a health safety body and HSE officers also, finally, the success of all these controls will be gauged only if the work groups are adapting it safely and properly. So that I got an idea to execute this behavioral based safety analysis about how the community, the public community accepted, aware and followed this COVID controls. Just before Ms. Chris has explained this hierarchy of control, it's very important. It may be industrial hygiene, it may be fire safety risk assessment, it may be even chemical safety risk assessment, whatever may be the risk assessment. Finally, the hierarchy of control will play the very important key role. If you this particular hierarchy of control is designed for COVID-19 hierarchy of control. So first of all, the most effective one is elimination. Elimination is quarantine, keeping ourselves safe, not exposing to any respiratory infected respiratory droplets is elimination. The elimination is, yes, is a very effective control, but we are in pandemic, we cannot deny it. At the same time, we have to move on. There is no other alternate. We have to move our life. So 100% work groups cannot go with this elimination option. And then we have substitution as per the hierarchy of control. We don't have any option to substitute COVID. So there is no effective control on the substitution layer. And then we are coming for engineering control. Being a chemical engineer, as per OSA's, as per WHO recommendation, we work with so many disinfecting chemicals. It may be Clorox, it may be Chemgene, it may be BZM, that is BZK, benzoyl chloride. Like that, we identified so many effective microorganism killers, especially which is having the effective approach to kill the COVID layers. And then we identified Clorox and few other chemicals, and then we started to implement to clean the office, to keep it the office in a very safe way to work. We basically call it as return to work. So during this return to work, we as a chemical engineer, myself, I worked a lot on this chemical aspects, and then finally feasibly as well as economically and commercially, we identified Clorox of 5000 ppm concentration is working effectively, and this is cross verified with the CDC USA Health Board, and we started to use this engineering control of using a specific disinfectant for the surface. As usual, for hand sanitizer, we go with isopropyl alcohol 70% as usual, and other basic engineering controls like we have a social distancing meters, all this we follow. And later on, the administrative control, which is more effective now, where all the companies used to recommend and emphasizing the workers to follow, like washing your hand hygiene, and they're maintaining 6 feet social distance. And there comes the next important control, personal protective equipment, PPE. So hand gloves and mask. So without hand gloves and mask nowadays, even the government bodies, even in Oman, the ministry has very clearly given the instruction like without wearing mask, if you go out to any public spaces, you have to pay minimum 100 real fine. So because of all these strict measures, we can see that at least the transmission is under control. But the only one important point in this COVID hierarchy of control is the last interesting phase, that is community protective equipment. We cannot say the big difference. Usually, if you look out any hierarchy of control, PPE would be the last rank, and that the reason is very important. PPE will not remove the hazard completely. PPE will not eliminate the hazard completely. It will only give the protection to the person who is wearing. Another problem is the PPE is connected with the behavioral based safety aspect. What is the behavioral based safety aspect? We can give a training to the workers, we can instruct them, we can train them, we can supervise them, we can monitor them, but we cannot 100% ensure each and every time they will follow the PPE measures. And because of this only, if you take the any hierarchy of control, PPE kept as the last rank. And now there is no other way for the Health Protection Agency and the public health. So they suggested personal protective equipment as the community protective equipment. So all the public workers or any public community, they have to depend on this PPE as a community protective equipment. And there, as we are daily interacting with so many work groups, I found there is a lot of behavioral based safety challenges in implementing this community protective equipment against this respiratory oriented pandemic syndrome. And thereon, I started to analyze how this behavioral based safety aspects, there is a control from the government, and there is a effective awareness from the people like we HSC people, we are giving effective awareness, and health protection agencies keep on updating about all this control, and how on the government is emphasizing each and every individual has to follow this, each and every company has to follow this, each and every worker has to follow this. In that way, all these controls are there. Now, how it's effectively or how it is exactly affecting the public, whether the public aware about this COVID, whether the public are following this behavioral based control, and what kind of phobia is happening about the public. This is my research plot. I started slowly on March onwards, exactly I can say August 2020 onwards, I started to observe this behavioral based safety aspect, how this COVID controls accepted among the public. So if you take BBS element, behavioral based safety element, it starts with observe behaviors. Being an HSC trainer, HSC officer, and HSC advisors, we always ask these questions to the worker because we believe whatever may be the expert opinions, finally the success, it's in the hands of the work groups, it's in the hands of the laborers. Being a HSC officers, we have to find some solution to enforce them, to influence them, and we have to make them to understand what is the importance of these controls, and they have to wear it. So we ask more questions. I started ask more questions with my work groups, with my students, with the community. So asking more questions will give an idea what is their understanding. Okay, we are saying PPE. Why are they not wearing PPE? What is their difficulty in wearing PPE? Why are they hesitating to wear PPE? Is it purposeful, or they don't know what to do, or they are intentionally doing or unknowingly doing? We get the data actually. That behavioral based safety data against the controls we can clearly get. And after that, we can develop a control measure like how to mitigate it, either by disciplinary procedure, or either by supervising them, or either indirectly psychologically influencing them, or by giving back-to-back counseling. So we will find some methods how to influence this, and I developed some method, I developed two methods in my, whenever I'm going for any OHS training, whenever I'm meeting any community people, whenever I'm giving any awareness workshop about COVID, CPDs, I always give the supervisory method. I will monitor them, I will intervene them, I'll ask them to wear. Supervisory kind of a method. And apart from supervisory kind of method, I thought even if you give more awareness, people may start to respond. I started to give so many workshops about COVID, CPDs about COVID. And I observed there is changes are there, but changes means people started to adapt control, but I even felt it is not even more effective. But the same community around September 20, in my workplace, in my work area where I am staying, I have observed people started to take this COVID control very seriously. The reason behind, I can truly say, the ministry's enforcement. The disciplinary procedures became so strict, and later on, I can observe people are started to observe or started to adapt these controls very effectively. This is my observation from February 20. I have seen the drastic changes in September 20. The main reason behind in it is disciplinary procedure. By this data, we can clearly understand whatever may be the expert's idea, the worker group, the community will follow very effectively if there is something called disciplinary procedure and supervision. Until we are, the government agencies and the companies are not enforcing them, allied with some disciplinary actions, community is really not following, is my opinion. And then other way, I observed one more idea like this obsessive compulsive disorder. This behavior I started to observe slightly, I can say from September onwards, where the people are started to get more messages, more infection rate across the globe. And now people are started to adapt control. I observed one more changes, phobia among them. If I go near to them, they don't willing to talk. Even if the appropriate social distance, they don't willing to talk. We can see there's a change in the public community behavior from awareness to phobia now. So if they touch anything, they are scaring. They don't know what to touch, whether they can talk. Even in they're scared to purchase vegetables. Even if you maintain appropriate social distance and hand sanitation, even if you say the place is properly disinfected, you can carry out the work. I have seen in many instances, the public, the people, the community, the workers, supervisors hesitated to react for. They are hesitating to accept it. The awareness became phobia at one point of time. So these two ideas make me to think even more deep how this kind of pandemic or any kind of emergency behavioral based aspect controls, how can being an HSC officer, how I can influence even more better among the group. That's why I initiated a survey about this pandemic behavioral based safety analysis survey. This survey consists of three components. One component is awareness component. I just introduced this 4 questions in the awareness component to understand how the public is aware about the COVID-19. Because if we give awareness properly, automatically people will understand what they can do and what they should not do. So I want to check this awareness component. In the survey, introduced some questions for awareness component. Then about the behavioral component, how well the public are accepting and adapting and following this respiratory oriented controls against COVID. And the third part is about phobia, how well the community is affected with this COVID. So these are the three components I implemented in my survey report. And in this PPT, I am projecting a very few important questions which is highly significant in nature and mostly responded by all of the participants. So I used the Google form for this and used a Gmail. I adapted a cold email process, like randomly I've sent so many different work groups to understand, because I need this behavior aspects not only from HSC people. I want to understand this behavior even from the worker, even from the basic labor. My focus is always on the labor, because we have all the ideas being an HSC people, but our ideas, our visions, our thoughts, our perceptions will be successful only if the work group is adapting, if the public community is adapting. If the public community is safe, we are success. So I tried all these emails to reach the worker groups. I I kept the survey open for 25 days. As per the Nationwide Data Protection Act, I never gathered any email or any other personal information. Whatever the information I gathered, I only used only for the statistical research aspect here. I received response from all these countries. From Oman, where I am living now, 36.66%. India, 30%. Uganda, 30. I never know how it reached Uganda, but I am very surprised. From Uganda, I got 13.33%. From Iran, Turkey, Nepal, Spain, Sri Lanka, and Dubai, 3.3% equally. I received a response from all these countries, Middle East, Asian, as well as some European countries. So 76.7% male responded for this survey and 23.3 female responded for this survey. And you can see the community who responded, construction workers. As Ms. Chris said, yes, construction worker is very highly risky in nature. They have all the jobs in construction workers, and more importantly, more workforces are employed in construction workers. Apart from the engineering level, more labors, more common labors are employed in construction workers. So being an HSC community, we always have to give more focus for construction workers. And then commercial experts who are dealing with the tenders, who always interact, have more business meetings, commercial experts, lecturers, foreman, yes, again my favorite people, foreman, HSC managers who are in the spreading the awareness, HSC managers, HSC trainers, HSC construction people, consultants, shopkeepers. They have a very challenging time. Shopkeepers, many business, due to business, many clients they have to interact. Shopkeepers, students, and some expert opinions from occupational pulmonary medicine and specialists, welfare associates who are doing the public, real public health aspects. So from welfare people, because they have to go to the field and they have to interact with the people. So welfare associates, orphanage. Orphanage is another challenging area. Orphanage home supervisors, like that. By God's grace, I received a variety of responses from this community that helped me to understand the data very effectively. So first of all, I want to share a few questions. This is the survey report I received. I asked this question, what about is the coronavirus disease is airborne transmitted? You can see here, 50% of the population said yes. So we know it is not that much airborne transmitted. It's a respiratory. If the person is within 1.5 meter, within less than 1 meter distance, through the respiratory droplets, this disease will transmit. So airborne transmission is not proven even by WHO. The COVID is not an airborne transmission as per WHO. You can see the population is confused about the infection mode. Though we have a videos and media broadcasting is there, this particular pie chart is clearly saying population is confused. Public community is having little confusion, not little, 50% of the people only accepting, and 26 and 23 still they are not clear about the way how this transmission is happening. Secondly, always people have a confusion how to wear mask, whether the color should be outside or white color should be inside. Only few health agencies are giving a very good clear clarity about these colors. And you can see, however, 86.7% of the population is very positively reacted for this particular question. The credit goes to the media. Through WhatsApp, through other Facebook, how to wear mask, even WHO, CDC, all these organizations has effectively given the awareness. That awareness is positively impacting the society, especially on this mask, how to wear mask aspect. And then, okay, we have two aspects of hand hygiene. Either we can go with alcohol or either we go with the soap. So the community is even 56.7% is preferably going with soap and 43.3% is going with alcohol. Yes, we know isopropyl alcohol and ethyl alcohol is the basic two disinfectant used in the hand hygiene, hand sanitizers. And particularly if you look about how the soap is disturbing the COVID, soap is the effective disinfectant against COVID, because soap contains a fatty acid which is effectively disturbing the COVID fatty wall. So people, again, I am very happy the community is equally understanding about the hand hygiene. By analyzing these three questions, these three significant questions, we can come to this conclusion. Yes, the community is understanding better, having a better understanding, awareness about COVID, but still there is some confusion existing among the public how this disease is particularly infecting. So my request to health protection agencies is, yes, they have done a lot of effort to create awareness among the community about this respiratory disease now going on now. But still, I think even more, if the health protection agencies is producing a very simple video which will make understand all level of population to understand this kind of transmission oriented videos, that will be helpful. I am trying to say the how the infection is happening. Instead of giving more scientific details, they have to think even the common public, the laborers has to understand. I am only suggesting this infection transmission videos should be even more simplified, and so that the public community will get a good awareness about the transmission. Okay, also because if there's a good awareness, actually the anxiety, the phobia, what they have to do, what they should not do, all this awareness and behaviorals, definitely it will improve, I believe so. The next component for me is the behavioral component. Okay, now the awareness is better. We can see from the survey among this community, the awareness is better. But how they are implementing in practice? So what they awareness is about the brain level. They understood in the brain what they have to do. In the thought process, it was there. When it comes to into practice, what are the deviation from that? You can see the survey for that. Are you cleaning your hands before touching mask every time? 46.7% regularly, 53.3% occasionally. But I have seen observed among most of the worker community, even among the drivers, construction workers, foreman truck drivers, because we are giving training for them. We are interacting with them. We are seeing their behaviors every day. So I'm very sure they always, mostly they have a small hand sanitizer in their pocket. So I have observed it, they are cleaning their hands very good, in a regular manner. I am very happy about that, which means hand hygiene has reached public community very effectively. Next one, are they disposing the mask safely both in offices and public places? 70% responded yes, they are doing, and 16.7% not sure, and 13.3% occasionally. I can say the one reason for that. Recently, I visited some of an embassies here. I have seen they have kept a separate dustbin and they gave the notice in there, please drop your mask in this dustbin. I think in many other public spaces, I never saw this kind of specific dustbins to dispose the mask. I suggest this kind of dustbins to be kept in public places, and the proper signages should be kept so that it will create even more awareness and behavioral aspects among the public to drop their mask in the dustbins. And then, yes, you can see hand hygiene 7 steps. Yes, 60% of the population responded they are effectively following this hand hygiene steps. That is too well appreciated. And the final a challenging question, in what occasions are you unable to maintain social distance? You can see the response is varied response here. I'll take two responses. 40% sometimes during work, and 33.3% during shopping, and the remaining 20% in other circumstances, only significant percent in restaurant. If you ask me why, in restaurant nowadays proper social distance are maintained so that people are naturally going and sitting. But if you observe workplace and shopping, even though there are controls to interact with the worker, to talk with the co-worker, or while going with the family in the public spaces, unknowingly, that is due to the reflex action, I can say, unknowingly, I even observed with my eyes, many of the public community is not maintaining a proper social distance, which means the measure social distance is failing more in the workplace as well as in the public spaces. This is what the survey is saying here. So if you sum up this behavioral component, we can clearly evident from this survey, the community is very satisfactorily attempting to follow the COVID control. It's very evident, the survey is clearly saying. Also, I observed through my eyes in many of public spaces as well as during my training sessions, while I'm going for an inspection, interacting with the workers, I can very clearly say the community is following the controls. But the deviated behavioral changes observed during socializing, especially in the public spaces. So I believe even more advanced and technological controls are required. Like nowadays, proximity detecting meters are very common now. That means we have a small meter here. If anybody come close to me, automatically the alarm will trigger. So like that, some kind of technical controls are recommended. Sanitizing tunnels, and then Wi-Fi debit cards. A Wi-Fi debit card as well as in Wi-Fi ATM machines are recommended, because in some of the surveys it's very clearly evident through ATMs, COVID is also transmitting. People after touching the ATM machine, or after touching the debit card, or after touching the ATM machine, the transmission is more. So Wi-Fi oriented ATM machines and Wi-Fi accepted debit cards is highly recommended, especially in the public spaces while going for shopping. Okay, and the third component is very interesting. I have seen varied responses about this phobia. As I said, because this behavioral based safety as well as this phobia, both are interconnected. Now for the past 3-4 months, I have observed the community is totally reacting in a different way. The behavioral aspect has improved, the awareness aspect has improved, and now the phobia aspect is coming into picture. And because of this phobia, I can say the stress factor is increasing day by day. You can see this. Are you obsessive about cleaning, washing and decontaminating? You can see 43.3% is agreeing for that. They are washing multiple times, I've seen this. I'm observing with the behaviors with the workers now. 43.3% surveys also reflecting the same. 43.3% people are very much obsessive about hand cleaning now. And you can again see that 20% of the population is strongly agreeing for that. They are very obsessive and they are very particular about this cleaning, washing and decontaminating aspect now. And secondly, this is another important aspect now. Are you actively avoiding situations to interact with the people even when they are safe? Even though we are disinfecting the place, even though we are ensuring appropriate social distancing, we are keeping hand sanitizer, and we are ensuring all the surfaces are disinfected using disinfecting solutions, people are hesitating to come inside. 40% of the population is accepting yes. They don't want to come inside, even though the public places or whatever may be disinfection has executed, they are not willing to come inside. Okay, and 33.3% again you can say they are totally disagreeing. You can see there's a complete deviation. 40% people, they are saying they are agreeing with this phobia, and 33.3% are saying they don't even bother it. We as an HSC professional having a challenging phases here. There are two extreme pole here. 40% say we don't come inside even if it disinfected. 33.3% is saying whatever may be, we don't have any problem, we can come inside. So we call it as a polarity difference here. There's a thinking process, there's a big polarity difference here. So now as a HSC community, OHS community, we have to ensure, we have to bring one bridge here saying that how this disinfection process are effectively controlling this COVID. So what I'm trying to say, whenever we are implementing any control, we also have the responsibility, the OHS community is also having the responsibility to create awareness among the public how these controls are effectively killing the bacteria or the virus. Why I am saying this? If you give this confidence to them, then only they will rely on the control and you can see some positive impact among them. So you can see exact polarity difference. Some population, one major population is accepting yes, disinfection is effective, and another major population is not accepting disinfection is effective, and they want to be a quarantine only. So here, being a OHSC community people, we have to ensure create proper awareness among the public community how the controls are working. If you only ask them to wear mask, they don't believe it. We have to give an explanation by wearing mask how this control is affecting them, how it is effectively working. That is also one of our responsibility, I believe so. And finally, how are you spending a lot of your time monitoring your body for signs and symptoms? If we, even now it's a seasonal flu in Oman, the winter has started now. A seasonal flu, even if you do a small cough, everybody is maintaining a distance now. They're looking at me like this, like an alien. The reason is Everybody is very scared. If even normal cough, I cannot even normally sneeze. People are looking at me. Any problem? Any corona you have? Immediately people are reacting for it. So you can see here, it's a distributed. You can see how the people are checking their own body signs. If you have a fever, immediately on coughing, they're touching their body to check the temperature, and they're even more concerned. They don't want to even share they have a cough with others. Okay, because of that, the socializing has totally affected, that we can easily observe. 33.3% are agreeing, yes, they are regularly monitoring their body for signs and symptoms. And we can see how this pie chart is evenly distributed. 23.3% is neutral, and 26.7% disagreeing, and 16.7% of the people strongly agreeing, which means you can take this agree and strongly agree as a same base. 33.3 and 16, which means approximately 50% of the population is very much scared whether do they have the signs and symptoms of COVID, which means they are monitoring themselves, they are self-monitoring themselves. Okay, and finally, the last aspect is even more interesting. This is the factor acting as a base for stress. Are you scared that your loved ones may affect with COVID outbreak? You can see 50% and 26.7%. 26.7% maybe we can also include in yes somehow. So we can say more than 50% of the population is having a feel that their loved ones may be affected with COVID outbreak. So you can see that this phobia component survey is clearly indicating this. Yes, somehow people are keeping this phobia under control. That OCD, as I told before, they are keeping this under control. But the emotional intelligence aspect, especially when they are connecting with their beloved grandmothers, because it's an elderly, we have seen the survey previously, the COVID survey said the elderly peoples are mostly affected, and in between nowadays, if you observe the survey, the people who are having underlying diseases also will be suffered. And now we are getting the news, the people between 30 to 40, they are also getting affected now. So the beloved, now the concern about the beloved ones increasing more. Because of that, the emotional intelligence is slowly falling down. Even though we have a good effective control now, even though the awareness is good now, even though the behavior is good now, people are so much confused. People are so much confused. They are very much scared because the emotional intelligence has disturbed. So because of this, the stress factor has increased, and we can see the workers are not reacting properly. They are not very attentive. We can see so much of behavioral changes with respect to their performance. We can see the work performance is affected because in country like Oman, some family members are not with them. Mostly, if you take any Gulf countries, GCC countries, mostly their family members will be in their own motherland, and they have to do their work here. So the problem here, they are mostly interacting with a virtual mode, like it may be Zoom or Skype or WhatsApp or Imo. They have only opportunity to interact with their beloved ones only through this virtual media. They don't have that physical interaction. They don't have that emotional hug with them. They're only seeing their beloved ones only through the camera. And they are concerning what happened to my husband here in Gulf. And they are worrying what happened to my wife and kid and my father in my country. Because that's a physically they are separated, and we can see this emotion. I have seen last week I conducted one batch. I observed one of the delegate. I am cracking jokes, I am playing videos, I am doing so much of ice breaking sessions in between my HSC training session. He is not reacting for anything. I asked personally some of his friends who attend the same training, why he is behaving like this. They've said he is emotionally disturbed. Then I personally called him. I took him to the separate room. I talked with him, what is your problem? Why you are behaving like this? Please share with me. He simply said, sir, my father is in this particular country. I am here. He is more than 60 years. I am very concerned whether the COVID may affect him or not. In the whole work like that, consecutively for 3-4 weeks, I observed few of the delegates exhibited the same behavior, which means what? The emotional intelligence is disturbed by this pandemic, and because of that, their work performance, the involvement, the interpersonal skills, everything is affected. Okay, so I suggest one thing for this. Media is communicating about COVID statistics, is communicating about how much infected in USA, in Sweden, in France, in UK. Yes, also the equal importance has to give for mental health and well-being improvement techniques. If you give more, I have even seen one more behavior. Some of my peers used to say, nowadays I am not watching any media news. Nowadays I am not watching any WhatsApp update about COVID. Why? They forcefully, they don't want to disturb their emotional intelligence. But without seeing media, we cannot get the latest updates. We cannot know what is the latest awareness. So what I am trying to say, the media has to balance on this. They have to give the awareness about all these diseases. At the same time, they also have to promote how well the community can balance their mental health and well-being. These techniques media has to broadcast more, because I can say now from past October, these are the behavioral changes I observed. From February 20 to May, awareness was not there. Exactly from May to June, I can see awareness is increasing. How can I say that? Wherever I go in Oman, I can see people are interacting and talking about COVID. And then after, from August to September, I can say people started to wear controls. That is mainly because of the disciplinary procedures by the ministries here. And now in October, I can see people are showing phobia. These are the two different. Now we can say COVID has took the second wave. Maybe there may be a third wave. Same way, I can also see this behavioral changes and like happening like a wave in the first part, second part, and third part. And now I can say the community is mostly affected with the phobia and the stress now. So my conclusion is this. So the overall survey is results clearly saying this kind of respiratory oriented pandemic, we can say the community effectively complying with the COVID control. But I suggest some of the recommendations to improve this behavioral aspect, because we are an OHSC community. There are many research people here who are doing research about how to control COVID, vaccine aspect, behavioral aspect, and what are the different technical controls we can bring. And there may be media people may also attend this conference. I suggest this infection mode, how the particular disease is affecting. It may be silicosis, asbestosis, or any respiratory oriented disease. The infection mode transmission, the videos should be even more simple, so that public community will understand about it, and that will avoid maximum phobia, stress, and you can also see the behavioral aspects will be improved. And in public spaces, more advanced technologies and more stringent monitoring is required. So because the survey clearly saying in public spaces, COVID controls are deviated much. So in public spaces, more technological controls are recommended. And finally, media has to broadcast more awareness based news about COVID and other related pandemic or other upcoming emergencies in the future. At the same time, they also has to equally promote in this kind of pandemic and emergencies, mental well-being techniques also to be broadcasted equally. I hope if you do all this thing, I think even more this kind of pandemic controls or any hierarchy risk assessment controls will be even more effective. And finally, my word is this: we are experts, we are communicators, we are an awareness campaign, we can do this, we are OHS people, we know about the disease, we know about all these aspects, and we are developing so many controls, technical control, behavioral control, administrative control. But the success of occupational health, safety, and environment community is in the hands of the workers. Until we developed some strategies, some methods, some kind of an idea to influence them, and if they started to adapt all these controls, if they are safe, then only we are success. Okay. At this moment, I want to thank to all the frontline health people who are doing a lot of sacrifices for us, especially the doctors and nurse and other public people, public health caretakers who are working for us in this pandemic period. I want to thank all of them. Okay. Yes. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Jayendran. I think your results from your survey is very applicable to many other countries.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
It's a very good survey. Thank you. I got a question from Chris. what are your views of the sanitizing tunnels?
Yeah. See, if you look about how the COVID is transmitting, you can see the COVID, the strain, even existing on the cloth, also on the paper. That is why the strict rules have given, even in Ministry of Oman, don't share much paper and pen. So whenever the people are coming into the shopping malls or public spaces, if they provide a sanitizing tunnel which contains a minimum disinfectant which will not affect, we can say atomizer, we can say an atomizer or a fog kind of an arrangement, automatically before entering into the shopping public spaces, all these external stains can be effectively removed. I believe this pandemic has to end by God's grace, but if it continues, the survey is clearly warning us in public spaces, COVID controls are much deviated. I believe by implementing the sanitizing tunnels, this can be even more controlled in a better way. I think so, Ms. Chris.
Are you using the sanitizing tunnels in
Oman? No, they are not using any sanitizing tunnels as of now, because usually, as usual in all other country, temperature check, and before entering into the shopping mall, they are asking us to sanitize their hands, and they are compulsory, they are asking to wear the mask and the gloves, and that's all they are doing as of now. But I can see one thing, they are doing a temperature check, but the person who is doing a temperature check is not enforcing for sanitizing their hands and is not monitoring whether they are wearing mask or not, which means that behavioral aspect is missing there, is my opinion, Ms. Lena.
Okay, thank you. I got another question. Are you planning to work on the awareness of the public health authorities about the wastewater-based surveillance of the prevalence of SARS-CoV-2 among the population clusters? The role of media toward capacity building, the building of experts. Oh, did you get the?
It is a big question.
Are you planning to work on the awareness of public health authorities about the wastewater-based surveillance?
Yes, I can understand the question in my format. Hello? Hello?
I'm not sure I got that.
Yeah, I understood the question, madam. I understood the question. I can answer for that. Hello, can you hear me?
I'm sorry, I think we have some technical problems.
Just a second. Can you hear me, madam? Can you hear me now?
Now, great.
I can understand the question. Yeah, I can understand. Yeah. Yes. I understood the question. They are trying to ask, is the health expert community like WHO, CDC, so many health protection agencies are there. Do they have to take the opinions from the public? Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Just by sitting in the clinic, if you are develop controls, it will not be effective, because again I am saying I am an HSC officer and I am HSC trainer, but I will be successful only if the community, if the worker group is following it. Health communities, health protection agencies doing a very great job, no doubt about it. At the same time, at regular interval, they have to take a public survey, and that will be helpful for them to improve the controls further. Yes, public survey to be go hand in hand with the health protection agencies. Yes, madam. Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Jayendran.
Okay.
I got another, the most prevalent answer in the question, in what occasion you are unable to maintain social distancing.
Okay.
It will be smoking, and it's hard to come around, right?
Yes. Yeah, smoking. Yes, but the problem, why I have not mentioned smoking here, yes, public spaces, it's a big problem. But in country like Oman, smoking in public places is restricted. It's a normal routine here. It's a normal routine. They can smoke inside the home or inside the street, but in the normal public road, it is restricted here. And even I am from India. In India also, the heavy fines are there if you smoke in the public places. Not now. Even before Corona, these controls are effective. It's effective. But that doesn't mean I am justifying smoking will affect the control. Yes, smoking is also one cause. Smoking is also one cause. But because of the existing controls, somehow in the public spaces, smoking is controlled to some extent as of now, madam. Yes.
Well, I don't have any more questions.
Okay.
I just want to thank you, Jayendran. It's a very interesting presentation.
Okay.
And I think we close the session and we'll have a long break and we will get back in 1 hour.
Okay. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Honestly, guys, it felt like I was working in a war zone.